over the next 10 years, and that we would have to have annual economic growth of anywhere from 7.7% to 9% annually to pay for them. Are you proposing more than you can actually deliver, at least not without big deficits?
First of all, when you say I'm the only candidate, if you listen to the Democrats, they want to do many things to Social Security, and I want to do them on its own merit. But you listen to them, what they want to do to Social Security, none of these folks are getting elected, okay, whether they can do it or not. I'm going to save Social Security. I'm going to bring jobs back from China. I'm going to bring jobs back from Mexico and from Japan, where they're all, every country throughout the world. Now Vietnam, that's the new one. They are taking our jobs, they're taking our wealth, they're taking our base, and you and I have had this discussion. We're going to make our economy strong again. I'm lowering taxes. We have $2.5 trillion offshore. We have $2.5 trillion that I think is actually $5 trillion, because the government has no idea when they say 2.5. They have no idea what they're doing or saying, as they've proven very well. We're going to bring that money back. You take a look at what happened just this week. China bought the Chicago Stock Exchange. China, a Chinese company. A Carrier is moving to Mexico, air conditioning company. Not only the ones I talk about all the time, Nabisco and Ford, and they're all moving out. We have an economy that last quarter, GDP didn't grow. It was flat. We have to make our economy grow again. We're dying. This country is dying, and our workers are losing their jobs. And you're going to lose yourself. I'm the only one going to save Social Security, believe me.
Okay, but how would you actually do that, can I ask you? Because right now, Social Security
you have tremendous
and Medicare,
waste. I'll tell you.
They take up 2/3 of the federal budget, and they're growing.
You have tremendous waste, fraud, and abuse. That we're taking care of. That we're taking care of. It's tremendous. We have in Social Security right now thousands and thousands of people that are over 106 years old. Now, you know they don't exist. They don't exist. There's tremendous waste, fraud, and abuse, and we're going to get it. But we're not going to hurt the people who've been paying into Social Security their whole life, and then all of a sudden they're supposed to get less. We're bringing our jobs back. We're going to make our economy great again.
Mr. Trump, in the Republican National Committee's Spanish language response to the State of the Union, Congressman Diaz-Balart said, quote, "It's essential that we find a legislative solution," talking about immigration, "to offer a permanent and humane solution to those who live in the shadows." What does that mean to you, a humane solution to those who live in the shadows?
I want everybody taken care of, but we have to take care of our people in this country. We're not taking care of our people. We have no border. We have no control. People are flooding across. We can't have it. We either have a border, and I'm not proposing, I will build a wall. I will build a wall. Remember this, the wall will be paid for by Mexico. We are not being treated right. We are not being treated properly. If we don't have borders, if we don't have strength, we don't have a country. People are flowing across. We have to take care of our people. Believe me. I don't like the idea of using executive orders like our president. It is a disaster what he's doing. I would build consensus, but consensus means you have to work hard. You have to cajole. You have to get them into the Oval Office and get them all together, and you have to make deals. Let me just tell you, I mentioned before, China, big Chinese company, bought the Chicago Exchange. Carrier is moving. And if you saw the people, because they have a video of the announcement that Carrier is moving to Mexico, okay? Well, I'll tell you what. I would go right now to Carrier, and I would say, I am going to work awfully hard. You're going to make air conditioners now in Mexico. You're going to get all of these 1,400 people that are being laid off. They're laid off. They were crying. It was a very sad situation. You're going to go to Mexico. You're going to make air conditioners in Mexico. You're going to put them across our border with no tax. I'm going to tell them right now, I am going to get consensus from Congress, and we're going to tax you when those air conditioners come. So stay where you are or build in the United States, because we are killing ourselves with trade pacts that are no good for us and no good for our workers.
Do you still believe President Bush should have been impeached?
First of all, I have to say, as a businessman, I get along with everybody. I have business all over the world. I know so many of the people in the audience. And by the way, I'm a self-funder. I have my wife and I have my son. That's all I have. I don't have this. So let me just tell you, I get along with everybody, which is my obligation to my company, to myself, etc. Obviously, the war in Iraq was a big, fat mistake, all right? Now, you can take it any way you want, and it took It took Jeb Bush, if you remember at the beginning of his announcement, when he announced for president, took him 5 days. He went back. It was a mistake. It wasn't a mistake. Took him 5 days before his people told him what to say. And he ultimately said it was a mistake. The war in Iraq, we spent $2 trillion, thousands of lives. We don't even have it. Iran is taking over Iraq with the second largest oil reserves in the world. Obviously, it was a mistake.
So
George Bush made a mistake. We can make mistakes, but that one was a beauty. We should have never been in Iraq. We have destabilized the Middle East.
But so you still think he should be
I
impeached?
think it's my turn, isn't it?
You do whatever you want. You call it whatever you want. I want to tell you, they lied.
Okay.
They said there were weapons of mass destruction. There were none, and they knew there were none. There were no weapons of mass
Okay,
destruction.
all right. You did say you could get along very well with Vladimir Putin. You did at one point say, let Russia take care of ISIS.
Call me a genius. I like him so far, I have to tell you. Let me just tell you this. Jeb is so wrong. Jeb is absolutely so. That's just so you understand. You know what that is? That's Jeb's special interest in lobbyists talking. Look, let me just tell you something. Jeb is so wrong. You got to fight ISIS first. You fight ISIS first. Right now, you have Russia, you have Iran, you have them with Assad, and you have them with Syria. You have to knock out ISIS. They're chopping off heads. These are animals. You have to knock them out. You have to knock them off strong. You decide what to do after. You can't fight two wars at one time. If you listen to him and you listen to some of the folks that I've been listening to, that's why we've been in the Middle East for 15 years, and we haven't won anything. We've spent $5 trillion in the Middle East because of thinking like that. We've spent and Lindsey Graham, who backs him, who had 0 on his polls. So let me just tell you something. We've spent. I only tell the truth, lobbyists. We've spent $5 trillion all over the middle. We have to rebuild our country. We have to rebuild our infrastructure. You listen to that, you're going to be there for another 15.
All right, Governor Bush.
When I announced that I was running for president on June 16th, illegal immigration wasn't even a subject. If I didn't bring it up, you wouldn't even be talking. Now, I don't often agree with Marco, and I don't often agree with Ted, but I can in this case. The weakest person on this stage by far on illegal immigration is Jeb Bush. They come out of an act of love, whether you like it or not. He is so weak on illegal immigration, it's laughable, and everybody knows it.
So, you know, this is the standard operating procedure to disparage me. That's fine. I don't really
spend
care
a little
about
more money on the
I can handle it.
commercials.
But if you want to talk about weakness, it's weak to disparage women. It's weak to disparage Hispanics.
I don't disparage.
It's weak to denigrate the disabled. And it's really weak to call John McCain a loser because he was a POW.
I never called him. No, I don't call
That
him
is
a-
outrageous. He's an American hero.
He also
Simple
said
fact
about
is,
language.
I've laid out my plans.
He said
as it
about
relates to
language. For
immigration.
language. 2 days ago, he said he would take his pants off and moon everybody, and that's fine. Nobody reports that. He gets up and says that, and then he tells me, "Oh, my language was a little bit rough."
Okay.
My language.
Governor Kay. His policies have been very, very liberal. For most of his life, he has described himself as very pro-choice and as a supporter of partial birth abortion. Right now, today, as a candidate, he supports federal taxpayer funding for Planned Parenthood. I disagree with him on that. That's a matter of principle, and I'll
You are the
tell
single
you.
biggest liar. You probably are worse than Jeb Bush. You are the single biggest liar.
All right.
This guy lied. Let me just tell you, this guy lied about Ben Carson when he took votes away from Ben Carson in Iowa, and he just continues. And